So, you know, it's 2:30 on a Sunday on MomoCon. I'm actually kind of curious, like, who actually has... I'm staying just for this panel. You guys are awesome, because that's me too. Alright, my name is Jason Sohalis Gary. This is the Ninja Turtles fan panel. I run it every year. So like DragCon, I did something and they really I really got really good positive feedback from it. So I decided, let me do it at MomoCon. Usually I do things differently. And let's see here. So obviously Ninja Turtles, I think next year will be 35 years old. I have to check. Yes, that's right. And it comes out and it's always it started. The comic book started in the same month I was born. So that's what makes it awesome. It is a little younger than me now, unfortunately. So obviously we've had multiple reincarnations, some really good and then some not so good. So to be honest, okay. So there's a few things I actually do like what they're doing with this series when it comes out. One, a diverse cast, like April's black, half the Turtles is actually black as well, and which is cool. And then, so something I didn't realize till afterwards, after I made my opinions public, was that the Turtles are actually different species. So technically they can't be brothers because they're different species, but that actually fits with the whole diversifying with the cast, which I think is actually a nice little thing that they did. Some of for me the designs are very hit and miss. Like Mikey, he actually looked because he's the most normal one of them. He actually looks pretty cool. I like that he's an artist and they put a lot of he put a lot of art in there. He's for that creativity. I actually like that little fact. And then we get to someone like Donatello, where they just they give him this tech shell because heaven forbid I called it a backpack in there and I got an internet backlash for days. So it's not a backpack. So it's not a backpack. Yeah. You think he sounds like a girl? Oh, he kind of looks like a girl. I can totally see that because they're going for a much slimmer and but I see your point right there. Yeah. I can see them saying that because I know Baxter was black. It's because the creators of this new show, they listened to the original edit of the Partners in Crime song where they said that Raph was the leader and they got a mistaken. No, I don't know. But now that song is correct. Now we can play that song for this. So 25 years later we can finally play that song and it goes well. You in the back, real fast. The weapon change. Okay, that's to me that's one of the weirdest ones. So Raphael having Tonfas is not the first time we've seen Turtle have Tonfas. Mikey had Tonfas in X Mutation, but it's weird to me. What's more weird about it is that the fact that they have to change everyone's weapons. They want to make it really unique, and then and especially we're seeing a lot of energy coming out, some plasma energy or whatever. That's where I'm thinking, I think it's going to get maybe a little too fantastic. I'm hoping that this is all just going to be just artist, just the artist representation. That's what I'm hoping for. But other than that, I don't know, it's just going to be weird. I'm actually more curious if the toys are. I know right now what they released the toys is still the new weapons, but I'm curious if they're going to eventually give them the original weapons. Yeah, you in the backside. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and I understand. I mean, your fears is like definitely justified and everything. Hopefully, like everything will be like when time the show comes out, and like hopefully we will get like them like having like flesh like character arcs, and actually that's what I'm hoping for. That, to be honest, like I'm hoping like when we get in there and then we actually start seeing the series, like we actually have them like we see them with their own like character arcs, their own like character personalities and everything, and at least like what they're doing is like how they're explaining it. Like they explained that Mikey is going to be an artist. Like he's like more creative, and that's why we see him like with like the smiley face on his thing and the paint on his shell, and then like like Leo, like not really the leader, but he's like the more gung ho kind of person, and that's like why like everything we've seen of him has like this kind of like just kind of like stern like kind of little face to him, and like obviously Donnie's like a techno one, that's why he has like tech all over his thing. Yeah, you had the hat tech. It is okay. I will say it is a little too soon, but at the same time, if they did it, Playmates would have nothing to sell, and that's why we're having things like this. That's why like there's never a year without like a Transformers cartoon unless if there's a movie coming out. Like if the Ninja Turtles movie were like more successful, like I could see them like be like, okay, we can take like a year off so we can have toy sales. But the reason, I mean, that's part of the reason why like they're doing it right now is because they want to Ninja Turtle toys. They sell really good, and so they want to keep pumping new toys, and that's how you do it. Yeah. All right. This is actually where I'm actually more excited about. To be honest, and like I know I'm a very minority on this. I'm actually excited that so back at Dragon Con I talked to, oh gosh, I forgot his name already, but like one of the IDW artists, and he kind of like he laid it out to me like bluntly. He told me like, oh, like the new Ninja Turtles cartoon, the kids are gonna love it, but the adults are just going to hate it. And like obviously he was 100% right about that. And something he actually told me was that at least this first season is going to be all original villains, and I actually unlike that fact just because with more original villains, like we get to see more creativity and not like things where people get to have to be tied down to what people are more familiar with. Like for like example, like Baxter Stockman in the 2012 cartoon, like they made him like he was in the comics, and then but everyone was like, no, we miss him as a fly, so they went and made him into a fly because they knew that's what people wanted and everything. So I want to see like it's like so far like John Cena's character. Oh, I already forgot his name, but he actually has a really cool design. I actually really like his design. I like his. And then like there's like meat sweats, and it's all right, but it's very reminiscent to like the old like 80s cartoon. Like, hey, we just like drew something generic and we just gave it a generic name, like how they did in He-Man. So, but I'm excited to see how like how creative. I'm hoping like some of these will actually be really cool like that. Like we will actually have like really cool villains that come out of this. Like one of my favorite villains actually was Bishop from the 2003 series, and like that was one that they created. So I'm hoping for this new series that we have something like that going on. Yeah.
I actually kind of like it from what I've seen. Like I do understand that they are kind of going backwards, but I think that's kind of the point. It's the rise of the Ninja Turtles. It's them when they're younger, when they're rasher, and you see them doing all this like weird shit, when it's kind of ridiculous, kind of what their niche is, and of course they look flat right now.
Right.
But that's the best thing about the design, right? Is it brings out the personality already.
Right. It does. It kind of obviously with these designs, like they went ahead and just painted the picture. Here's like what they like and everything. And as long as they go and flesh this out, like the show hasn't started yet. So like so something I do want to close about this with this subject is it was 7 or 6 years ago. I'm trying to remember now. When I came here to MomoCon and I hosted my first Ninja Turtle panel, that year the 2012 series was about to come out, and I heard all this negativity about the 2012 series. They didn't like that Mikey and Donatello had bladed weapons. They didn't like the design. They didn't like the trailer because it was too comedical. And then the show came out. What? Yeah, Young April. I forgot about Young April. Like they didn't like Young April. I mean, there was like so many things I kept hearing oh, I'm not looking forward to this. I'm not looking forward to this. And then the show came out, and I remember I came the next year and I said, hey, who's watching it? And people were all raise their hands, and I was like, hey, who's liking this series? And everyone who watched it was raise their hands. That's what I'm hoping that's what it's going to be on this. Just because every time something new comes out, obviously there's always going to be, because it's always we miss what came out before. So and then everyone always has fear, because it's always oh, I want it to be everyone always wants it to be what they remember it to be as. So but hopefully this can flesh it out to be a awesome series. So far what I do like I like the animation with it. I like the action with it. It does not look like Teen Titans Go. I keep hearing that from people. It does not look like Teen Titans Go to me. No, it does not look at all. And you know what? And then a few days ago, Cartoon Network, they showed Thundercats Roar, and all I can say is, hey, at least it does not look like Thundercats Roar.
Thundercats Roar looks horrible.
Exactly. It does not look like that. Yes. It's a brand new. It's a brand new show. So it's going to be their own new origins. It's going to be from start. These people have nothing to do with the other turtles, and hopefully when this show they get through their series finale, however long that takes, hopefully they will end just like the other two shows ended, with a crossover with the original Turtles. And one other thing I do want to add is that the original voice actor of Raphael, and he also voiced Donatello in the 2012 series, is actually the voice director of this series, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's actually pretty cool. So, is there anything? Yeah. Alright, so if this falls flat on its face, which it could, to be honest, it really could. I can see them just kind of just let it die out. It's gonna be one of those they'll air Nickelodeon, they air 7 episodes, and then they rerun those 7 episodes for the next 5 months, and then they'll show 3 episodes later on, and just but I can see it where they go if they see it does not test well and everything, I can see them go only air 11 of those episodes, and then the rest of the 15 episodes they'll put it on Nicktoons, or they'll make it on digital, and then from there they will probably hire a new team to create, because if this falls flat, obviously Playmates is going to ask them, hey, Ninja Turtles is our biggest selling toy, don't, you ruined it for us, you got to make another one. And so they're going to go and make another one. They'll just go from start. And then, so if this one also fails, we're probably going to see the next series go back to 1987. Woo! You guys are awesome. How many of you guys actually like, this was like your introduction to Ninja Turtles? That's actually my introduction to Ninja Turtles too. I'm curious, was anyone actually introduced to Ninja Turtles from the comics? Okay, that's what I kind of thought. Only because, so I've talked to like people, I've had like a coworker before, he came into me, he was like, oh, I was done with Ninja Turtles when they made this cartoon and they made all the headband colors different and everything, they sold out. I'm like, really? That's what, like, if we didn't have this cartoon, like, Ninja Turtles would have just died from obscurity. Like, you know, it would have been that indie comic that people would have talked about. Hey, did you hear about the teenage something turtles? I mean, but no, when this cartoon came out, obviously, huge success. Some things that they did, obviously, so if you guys don't know, from the comics, the original comics were it was kind of like darker and violent. The original comic was supposed to be a parody of like just comics in general, like. But the big thing is that Daredevil like is supposed to be, oh, what happened if the thing that made Matt Murdock blind fell in the sewer and like, you know, went into Turtles and everything, and then like, you know, the bad guy's name in Ninja Turtles is Foot, because in Daredevil it was the hand, exactly, and just things like that, and like, you know, Splinter's name, his name is Splinter because there you go. But it was just a parody of thing, and it was not, the comic was not meant to last. And well, you know, after they sold their first issue, where they killed their main character, their main bad guy, and they, like, you know, they saw like, hey, people like want more of this and everything, and then eventually what happens is that the toy company, they came in and they said, hey, we want to make toys of this. And they're like, oh, cool. And they're like, we can't have them all wearing red headbands. And they're like, why not? Because they're like, people won't know which one's which. And they're like, can't you just look? No. We need something to differentiate. So the toy company made the creators assign each turtle a skin color and a headband color. And, you know, then they made toys from that. When it went to cartoon, it went just headband color because overseas animators are lazy, like, you know, and so, that's how like we got like the headband colors from things. Obviously, the show was a huge success. It lasted 10 years, and before. At the time, like when it lasted, it was the longest running animated series at that time, and then like Simpsons beat it out like a few years later. But something else that happened with the show, with just, you know, when the show tried to update within the times, yeah. Right. I'm getting there. So you know, try to update with the times. There was shows like Batman the Animated Series, X-Men, Power Rangers, like all these more action-oriented shows, and then, but like Turtles was still this slapstick comedy kind of thing, and so they're like, oh no, we're losing these viewers, so we gotta, like, you know, they're trying to go with the times, and so then the last 3 seasons, because they were trying to struggle. They were trying to hold that, hey, we're the longest running animated series in the US, and like this only lasted 3 years. Each season of this, when they rebranded the show, was only like 8 episodes. At this time, like, it was on CBS. It went to CBS like earlier, but it was not successful at all. And part of the reason why was because they had this awkward teenage kind of phase where like they didn't know what their identity was, and they're trying to find it. Like the very first episode from that season, like Shredder, he crosses his arms, he blows up the Channel 6 building. He was like, "I never bluff," and like it's like, what? Shredder, we seen you like complain to Krang and like just like be all goofy, and then all of a sudden you're trying to be cool. Like what's wrong with you? And like, and just things like that. And then like Raphael was still trying to break the fourth wall, but not really. And then like obviously like they, for some reason it's cool to have your headbands like not cover your whole eye. It was just things. It didn't last. Anyone actually like watched? Like yeah, I did too. It was kind of painful. Yeah. Saban, they teamed up with Saban to make this. They teamed up with Saban. They said, "Hey, Power Rangers is beating us in ratings. What do? We go with Power Rangers."
Okay, so I like the 3D live action movies. I really enjoyed them. When I was a little kid, when I saw this, I didn't actually know this was real. I thought I had a nightmare about it.
I am sad.
Someone coming out
Yeah.
of that silver. I had nightmares about it.
His name is Dragon Lord. But yeah, I'm sorry to reaffirm that your nightmare was actually real, and it came out in the 90s, and it was awful. Yes, so the big thing about this one that everyone totally remembers is that they made a fifth turtle. Her name was Venus de Milo. Well, first, just to let you guys know, when they made a fifth turtle, that was actually Kevin Eastman and Peter Layard's idea, was to actually make another one, just to kind of like add more into it. But to make it a female was not their idea. So basically, the president of Fox Kids Entertainment, she had this whole push of like, we want women in all of our shows, because like everything was like action at the time. Like, you know, you had like X-Men, you had Power Rangers, you had Batman. So like, you know, she forced the people in Batman to add Batgirl into the show. They wanted more girl power in their shows because they felt like their channel was getting too boy heavy. Yeah. What was it? I know, exactly, yeah. You know, obviously this failed like real fast, like, you know, and that was, oh god, 96, 98, somewhere around there. And yeah, exactly, yeah. It's like, I know that when the series came out, it was when Power Rangers was in their in-space incarnation. The reason I know that is because they actually had a team up where the Power Rangers met the Ninja Turtles. And if you want to blame someone on that is my fault. And I'll tell you why. Because back in like back when like Power Rangers was like so popular, like Fox decided to do this primetime special where they showed the Ninja Turtles 2 movie, and then it was hosted by the Power Rangers, and I was kind of like, you know what, it'd be awesome if the Power Rangers and the Ninja Turtles actually like met up, and somehow Fox got that idea from my head, and they made it into a show. And I apologize, America. I did not. I'll never think like that way ever again in my life. Yeah. So when you come from a train wreck like that, what happens to Ninja Turtles is that they have to like just go away. Like, I mean, like, you know, at that point there was like no recovery. I mean, they just, for a while, there's no shows, no movies, no comics. Like they just, they're just kind of like under the radar. After a while, Peter Layard, he actually bought all the rights to Ninja Turtles from Kevin Eastman, and he actually owned everything that was associated with Mirage Entertainment. And so he was trying to revitalize the show. First he tried in 2001 with a pitch to Kids OB. Kids OB didn't like it. So then he tried again in 2003 for a new channel called Fox Box.
Ninja Turtles! Turtles, count it off! 1, 2, 3,
Yes, that's exactly. And that was actually Layard's like idea. Was he wanted because he loved the original comics. He hated the '87 cartoon. Like he thought that was awful, and he wanted something to actually be close to like what his vision was. And so he wanted, like the first 2 seasons was exactly like a retelling of like all the major issues that he wrote for the comics. And like his rule was like he didn't want pizza in the show. He like like no one was allowed to say Cowabunga. Like when he had the Utroms. As a joke, one of them was named Krang, but he didn't want anyone named Krang. He was like he wanted to make sure that like it was like, hey, this is what I envisioned. He was trying not to incorporate anything from the original show, just because, and that he just didn't like it. Yeah, he got punished. He got punished like really bad. And in fact, one of the episodes featuring him never made it to air, and it was only available on DVD. I believe that was Insane in the Membrane. Yeah, that one was. And then another episode that never even made it to animation was one featuring Garbage Man, if you guys remember that villain. And oh gosh, I'm trying to remember now what was that storyline. Like it was supposed to be like him and someone else were like fraternal twins or I'm sorry, Siamese twins or something like that, and then like separate them, and like that's where the censors were like, whoa, here's a line, you just went up here. I mean, and so like that, they weren't even allowed like to even animate that. Yeah. Which one? Insane in the Membrane, or Insane Membrane, or something like that. Something like that. Was it?
What was it about?
Oh, what was that about? Max Stockman was going crazy. He was, because of all the punishments he was taking. It was, I believe it's in the season 4, or it's either season 4 or Lost Season DVD. I forget which one is it, but he just from all the punishment he was taking, and the way that like the Earth Federation Force was treating him, he was just going crazy, and all he could remember was like his times with his mom and everything. So it was a very just polarizing episode, like where he was just like all he could think about like was his mother, but like he was just like remembering all the torture, and like they didn't like that they were showing all the torture he was going through. So this series actually lasted like a lot longer than some of the other series. Like it's not as long as the 1987 series, but like it did like go through it went through like 4 seasons on Fox, and then when it changed into 4 Kids and CW Kids, and then like they made another season to like wrap that up, but unfortunately ratings were declining, because that's what happens after a while, and especially with kids, they get interested in other things. And so like they decided, hey, like we want the network came up to them and said, hey, we want to revitalize the show, we want to make it more interesting, let's send them into the future. Yeah. I'm hoping like we have like something like really creative that's like really cool, but yeah, and memorable too. The thing is like no one remembers the Dark Turtles here. The comics, they did bring in one character from here, the uncle. They brought him into the recent IDW comics. The main reason why they made this show was they felt the networks felt like the original show was too dark. Everything was at night. It was just too stylized, just too violent. They wanted something lighter. So every episode was like during the daytime. Their action wasn't so serious. They weren't like going through like as much like serious issues they were from the original series. Well, This one didn't do that well either, and because like they actually used that as their series finale. And what was cool, what they did with that was they went and redesigned the turtles again. They took out the peoples because no one liked the peoples. They became peopleless again, and like they teamed up with the 1987 turtles, and like and then there's like polarizing things because people felt like they used the 1987 turtles as more of a butt end of the joke, but some people like, oh, it's like it's a tribute to them and like and just pointing out all the falsehoods and everything. So yeah, that's the unfortunate part, was none of the voice actors came back. They didn't even ask them to come back. There's so many theories circling around why, but I will say this: it's money, because 4Kids, though I think 4Kids was still producing it at the time, they have a fraction of a cost of like a other animation studio do, and that's why everything on 4Kids, like like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Ninja Turtles, Shaman King, everything they did, they only have like those same 6 or 7 voice actors, is because that was who was on their payroll, and they just kind of like just go grab them from the street and yeah.
Well, at least they brought it back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. That's always a question that like people love to ask me, and it's a question I always love to dodge because I love each turtle equally. But now, I mean, to be honest, like whenever people ask me like who's my favorite turtle, for me it's kind of hard because each turtle, like they bring their own thing to the table, and I like what they bring to the table, and so I can say which turtle I relate the most, and that's Leonardo, mainly because even though he's not officially, well, in this new series he's definitely not the oldest because Raph's the oldest, but even though he's not officially the oldest, but he's always been the leader, and usually, and I'm an older brother, so I always like, that's why I lean more towards Leonardo, but that does not make him like my absolute favorite. That's just the one I can relate to the most. 2012. Oh man, I have so many things about that. So it was a really interesting ending, I will say, for the 2012 series. I like the way I took it at. Yeah, the Mad Max play. Yeah, because that's the last episode. Right. Okay. It's the last episode produced. That was their last episode that they made. This Nickelodeon did not air it in the correct order. So, because, okay, if you watch that episode, if you see at the very end, we have like the Mirage style turtle hold up for Eastman and Layard. That's a tribute to them because they had that in their first, in the end of their first issue. And they had the turtle hold up a sign that says for Jack Kirby. So that's why that was actually their last intended episode. But Nickelodeon, and I'll say this for Nickelodeon, I think they very smartly like kind of rearranged it just because that way the episode was great. I loved it. I loved all the imagery. I loved all the things that happened. It's just like I felt like it was just too dark, and like you had that like, oh, they made it to Oasis, and it felt like you felt like there's a sunshine to their ending, but still like everything just they're never going to be the same from that. And yeah, exactly. And then but I felt that's why Nickelodeon was like, hey, instead we're gonna have it like where they team up with the '87 Turtles again as their final one, just so we can get them on it and we can end the show on a high note instead of this creative like way to end it. That's how I like the designs. I thought the designs of like all 4 turtles were actually pretty cool, and I like how they took the liberty of it. One thing I will say, the way I looked at it is, I looked at it as hey, this is just a alternate kind of thing. I didn't look at it as hey, this is like what's going to happen to our heroes, because I'm selfish. I don't want that to happen to all the characters I know and love. Yeah.
What action figure do you think are best represent the four turtles? For me, it's NECA.
NECA hands down. Oh my gosh. So not like last year I got the '87, the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, where like it had like all four turtles, it had Shredder, Krang, and 2 foot soldiers. That was like an awesome figure set. I love the ones they did the year before, where it was the arcade turtles, and that was something I was like begging them, because after I saw what they were doing with like the Batman game, the Predator game, and all that kind of stuff, I was like, man, if they can just do this with turtles, and they finally did it. They did what I thought was pretty cool. And then I will say the ones I'm like just now to start to collect from NECA is they're like 1.5 foot tall. They are from like the original movie, and like those action figures are really cool. Like I just need to find a good space for them, just because they're nowhere near the size of other ones. But like them, the Fig Arts is a very close second to them. I'm gonna say this about the the voice actor who did Shredder in that episode, which is Kevin Michael Richardson, who does the voice of that Shredder. And like I've always like criticized his voice, because I always felt like he only had like one kind of voice, and that is Kevin Michael Richardson. Because every show he's done, he just has that deep black-eyed voice. When he took over as '87 Shredder for that team up episode, I honestly thought it was I thought it was one of those '80s replacement Shredders that they had, but I was so impressed that it was actually like him. Yeah, it was spot on. I thought he did such a great imitation of that voice. So the original movie, the original movie was like, hey, we're gonna make this into a closer to the comics, just more grittier and everything. Parents were complaining about that because all the kids they were tuned to was the cartoon. And then so, even though it made like boatloads of money in the box office, they're like, parents were still complaining about it. So when they made the second movie, they're like, okay, we're gonna make this closer to the cartoons, and they cut back on the violence, and they're just like, they had their weapons. Their weapons were there and everything, but they never actually like used them to fight. They're just there, and everything was like more slapstick. They try to recreate the cartoon in the second movie, and it was because of the parents' backlash. It's kind of like how someone was asking about Splinter's death, and like why that didn't affect, like if that affected people, it's just because of that was like Turtles' height at their popularity. That when it's not popular, it probably no one would have noticed. Yes, there's only one thing they don't own. Does anyone know what they do not own? No, because the Turtles don't own that. They don't own Next Mutation. That is I think it's Hasbro Studios now, because it still belongs to Savant Brands. When Layard bought Ninja Turtles, he specifically did not want Next Mutation, and so he did not get Next Mutation. So when that got sold into Viacom, Next Mutation was not part of that deal, and so Savant Brands, which is now going under in July, which is now going to be Hasbro Studios, they own that. So that's why you'll never see any images of like Next Mutation in any of the Ninja Turtle series, because they don't own anything of that, and they can't actually officially put Venus into anything, because technically they still own Venus as well. All right.
They probably don't care.
Yeah, they probably don't care. That's why. No. Spawn Brands is going broke. They sold off their Power franchise, and they're closing in July 2nd. Yeah. All right. I really want to thank you guys for coming out here. You guys are awesome. And yes, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your con. There's only like an hour and a half of it left.